What's going on, guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. This is Web Dev Journey, and in today's video we're going to be talking about associations and also implementing them, obviously. But before we get into that, I do want to mention a few things, and that is I did create a few code already did some stuff in this application because I wanted to speed this thing along. Guys, this is going to be I'm gonna just say a very long video, I'm pretty sure. This is associations we're talking about, and it's the primary thing of SQL, right? SQL databases, right? So yeah, you could bet that associations is a big topic to talk about. And even though I'm not going to be doing all that, I'm not going to be covering everything about associations. I will be covering most of the main stuff about associations. But just to let you know, I already did some coding, so I'm going to be walking through the code that I've done when we get to that part. So first of all, I got 3 models right here because obviously we need some models to make associations. So I created some models, right? I got a user model, we got the contact info model, and we also have a tweet model. And we're probably going to do like a rundown version of a Twitter, like the very basic stuff. So let's just get right into it, okay? So in the last video, in the very end of the video, we talked about associations, the 3 types of associations: one-to-one, one-to-many, and many-to-many. And Sequelize gives us 4 types of associations that we that we need to use and combine in order to make those one-to-one, one-to-many, and many-to-many, right? And these are the 4 types of associations that Sequelize gives us: has one, belongs to, has many, and belongs to many. You could kind of guess which one is the one-to-one, one-to-many, and many-to-many. So we're going to start off first of all creating a one-to-one an association. And in this models, like what would you consider a one-to-one relationship in between these 3 models that we have: user, contact info, and tweet? I want you to try to think about a one-to-one of an association, also a one-to-many association, and the very last, a many-many association between these 3 models right here. I'm saying this so that way you could get your head around what is a one-to-one. When looking into models, how would you determine what's a one-to-one, what's a one-to-many, what's a many-to-many, right? So I'm just trying to get you ahead of that. So anyways, a one-to-one association in these 3 models would be user and the contact info, right? Because one user could only have one contact info, and vice versa, one contact info has to belong to one user. And that's what's a one-to-one relationship, right? A one-to-one association. So we're going to be creating a one-to-one with user and contact info. So down here, I'm going to say one-to-one. Like I said, guys, we do need to do a combination of these in order to create a one-to-one. And the only combination is these 2. You're going to see it's not that hard of a combination, and we're going to be talking about why do we need to do a combination? What is a has one and belongs to, okay? So first of all, let's just write some code, right? So we're going to say user.has1 contact info. So this in turn gives us an association. It'll be best if I actually never mind. I was doing some stuff. I was trying to explain to myself how would I teach you this or make a tutorial about something. Anyways, screw it. That doesn't really matter. So anyways, so what we're trying to do right now is make an association. So we have a table for users. I'm gonna say U for users, and a table for contact info, right? So right now we're saying that user has one contact info. Basically, the only model that knows that we have an association to contact info is the user model. This user model is the only model that knows about the association between these 2, okay? So let's say that I wanted to grab the contact info of user 123, right? Which the contact info is just a phone number. I didn't really explain that here. By the way, the contact info is literally just the ID and the phone number. That is it. I'm not going to be, doing all that street and all that stuff. Screw that. So what we're trying to do, let's say we're trying to grab user 123's phone number, okay? Phone number being 9 987. All right, let's say that's his phone number. So we have this association between user and contact info, and we could absolutely do that through the user table. We're going to say find, user 123 and get number. Okay, and this is absolutely doable because user knows that we have an association with contact info, and it's okay if user goes inside the contact info table and grabs that number because we have an association. But let's say that we wanted to find a user using the phone number, so we're going to say find user by number. Right now, this is going to be a problem because now we have the 987 number and we're trying to go inside of the user table, which contact info does not have an association with user, right? Contact info does not know we have an association with user because we didn't determine that right here. We didn't see that. User has an association with contact info, but it's not the other way around. So this right here will throw out an error saying that we're not going to be able to do that. Now, this is where belongs to comes into play. Right here, what we could say is say contact info dot belongs dot belongs to user. And this in turn gives us an association between contact info and user now. Now this right here, this query that we run will work. All right, now we could actually find a user by the phone number that they give us. This is why we need both of these together. So that way we have a back and forth relationship between user and the contact info, okay? Just wanted to clear why we needed to combine two of them to make a one-to-one an association. And this is why, to create a real one-to-one relationship in Sequelize. All right, enough about that. Let's just let's just show you how it looks like in the database. All right, so I'm gonna control save this right now. I think I did I did not do an npm start. Hold on. Oh, has capitalized O. Control save, and there you go. So let's see how this looks like in our database, the tables, how the tables look like. So if I go to pgadmin, I refresh this. All right, now we're gonna have three tables, obviously, because contact info, tweets, and users. Let's go to users and see what's going on here. Users should be the same thing as last time, except for password. No password, right? And we don't have anything. Now, contact info is something different, and I do need to explain that a little bit more. The contact info has the ID that we talked about, right? We have the over here. Let's check it over here. We have the ID, the phone number, and then we also have the timestamp. So created at and updated at, right? But as you see, as you see right here, we have all that, but we also have this extra column right here, which is the user ID. Where did that come from? Now, when you make an association between tables, between two tables, one of them is going to have a foreign key. This foreign key is basically the reference point of like where it's trying to reference, right? So in this case, contact info is trying to reference something inside of the user because contact info belongs to user. Basically, the contact info is going to reference a user inside of the user table. Therefore, with this one right here, how we set it up, the contact info is going to have a foreign key. That foreign key being the user ID. And it creates it for us automatically, as you saw right now. User ID. This is a foreign key. This is important because, like I said, let's go back into this little model right here. Like I said, if we tried to find a user with 123 and try to grab the number for that user, right? Well, since 987 has that foreign key of user ID, guess what's stored inside of the user ID column? 1, 2, 3. So now we could say that, hey, we're trying to grab user 123 and trying to grab the phone number. So in here, we're going to look at the foreign key and say that, hey, Look at the user ID. Oh, this is 123. So 987 is the phone number for user 123, and vice versa, right? If we try to find a user by their number, we're gonna look at here and say that, hey, we're trying to find this number 987, and okay, it's referencing the user ID of 123. So let's look inside of the user table and see, okay, here's the user 123, and this is that user. So it's very, very important to have a foreign key. And guys, if you do not know where the foreign key should be placed, as you saw, the user table did not have a foreign key. The only table that had a foreign key was the contact info, right? If I go back over here, go to users, you can see that the user does not have a foreign key at all in here, right? But the contact info does. If you're trying to figure out where a foreign key should be placed, you could ask yourself a pretty simple question. And this is the way I thought about it when I was trying to create a foreign key, right? So the way that I asked it was like, which model could live by itself? Which model could live by itself? Is it the user model or the contact info that could live by itself? The user model obviously could live by itself, right? Because it doesn't need anything. The contact info, in the other hand, needs referencing to the user. It needs to be tied back to a user. So the contact info cannot live by itself. It needs some type of reference back to the user, right? So in this case, since the contact info cannot live by itself, it needs that foreign key inside of it. So this is how you would, I guess, decide where the foreign key, if you're new to this, where a foreign key should be placed. It should be placed inside of the table that needs referencing back, that cannot live by itself. And we'll talk about that a little bit more, okay? And we'll bring up that question once we do other relationships. But basically, that's pretty much it for a one-to-one relationship. Let's now populate it with some stuff, all right? With a user and also the contact info for the user, so that way you can see how you would do these things, okay? So like I said, let's go inside. Now that we have our models all set up for the one-to-one, let's go inside of the services and go to user service, because this is where I did it. I mean, not I did it, but in the user service, our create user is basically the same, right? First name, last name, email. We're going to get this all from the body, the JSON data. And then we also need to worry about the contact info, right? So I created another service for our contact service, which is going to create the contact info, as you see right here. And it just takes basically a phone and the user ID. And this is going to, we need the user ID, like I said, because remember, we need to populate that reference key or that foreign key in order to reference back to an absolute user, right? So we need that user ID. And we're going to be creating a model with a phone and user ID. Now, some people are going to get a little bit confused here because we're passing in the user ID into the model contact info, even though inside of the contact info, we don't have that user ID as an attribute right here. We don't have it. So where is that coming from? Like I said, guys, once you create that table, that user ID is automatically generated for you. So whether you like it or not, that user ID column is inside that contact info table. So you need to populate it with a reference key. Oh, and by the way, to make sure you do not leave that null, you don't leave that rep or foreign key null. What we want to do is right here, we want to give it some options. Yes, we could actually add some options with our associations, and it's going to be a simple option that we're going to add. So in here, add in your brackets, right? And we want to add an option for the foreign key. And that is, we want the type of this, the type of the foreign key to be data types dot UUID. Since the IDs of these things are UUIDs, I want the foreign key to also be a UUID type. Also, we don't want this to be null, so allow null is going to be false. We don't want it to be false. This is going to make extra sure that that field is populated with something. All right, so control save, make sure you do this. Just a little bit of good practice to do that. Also, if you don't like the name user ID for your foreign key, you could absolutely rename it. All you will have to do is just say name right here and then name it whatever you want. I don't want to name it anything. I like it the way they name it, so I'm just leave it like that. Okay. All right. So anyways, on our contact info, now you see that we created contact info or a function that's going to be creating a contact info. So now inside of our routes, our user routes, our index, this is where we're going to be creating a user and also creating a contact info, because this is where we're going to be sending all that info, right? So right here, obviously we're grabbing the user. We're going to be user service.create user, passing in the rec.body. And then here, we're going to be creating a contact info, passing in the phone number and also the user ID that we got from user. So I'm using the user that we got back and passing in the user.id that comes with that user. And all we're going to be doing is receiving the user and the contact info, okay? So let's see how this works. This shouldn't be new, guys. That's why I'm speeding along this and the user services should not be new to you guys. That's why I'm just like showing you really quick how I did this and how I put it into the route, and that's it. So let's go to Postman and create a user. I already have something along those lines. So let me see, create user create. We have a WDJ www.com, and then phone number is this random number. Let's send this, and look at this, we get our user and also our contact info. And you're going to see that our user ID inside of the contact info, which is our foreign key, is exactly the same as the ID as the user. Now we have a reference point back to the user, right? Which is what we wanted, okay? All right, now let's create a one-to-many relationship going back into the index.js for our models. And in here, I'm basically going to copy this because it's going to be basically the same thing. So I want you to tell me one-to-many. And one-to-many actually combines has many and belongs to. Like I said, we need the belongs to no matter what, and also the has many. But between the models, what do you think has a one-to-many relationship between these models? That's pretty simple, right? A user could have many tweets. That's a one-to-many relationship or association, right? So all we have to do here, as you guessed, we're going to say user.has many tweets, or tweet, that's our name of the model, tweet. And also tweet belongs to user. Not that hard, right? It's basically the same thing as the one-to-one. Man, the many-to-many is going to get complicated, so I want to save that. So I'm not going to go over this because this is pretty much the same thing as a one-to-one, but instead of one-to-one, it's one-to-many, obviously, right? And we could actually check out the PG-admin to see how the table looks like. So instead of the contact info, if I run this, you can see that actually got there. So if we go to the what's it called, the tweets table, right, we're going to see ID, title, description. That's exactly what we have for our model. ID, title, description, plus a timestamp. So plus a timestamp, and obviously along these, we're going to have the user ID as our foreign key. So let's try to populate this with some tweets, right? So let's go to, well, first of all, let's see how I did it. So let's go to our code. So inside of our services, I did create a tweet service. So if we go inside that, this is going to be creating some tweets. And like I said, we need to pass in our user ID. That user ID that's going to be referencing to, right? Our foreign key. And we also need to pass in the title and description. And then once we have that, we're going to create a tweet.create and pass in the user ID, title, and description. And then just simply return the tweet that we saved. Now, if I go inside of my routes, inside the tweets route, I did create a tweets route. The index.js, we did create a create route for our tweets. And first of all, I do need to find the correct user. So I just did the find one user, which is going to be, let me see, the find one user is going to be me, right? So I'm the current user, which you should probably want to have the current user. Anyways, where's my, right here. So I'm gonna grab the user, my user, right, and grab their ID, so that way we could pass in that user ID and also the title and description. Okay. So let's see if this works or not. So let's go to Postman, and I already did, obviously, right. We're gonna go to Postman, and we're gonna go to tweet create right here, and as you can see, I'm only passing the title description because we're already grabbing the user ID from trying to find that one user. So if I hit send right here, we should get our user and our tweet, right? And let's do a few more. Let's just do a few more. Let's go to, let's do this one. I'm going to say V2. Yep, V2. And let's do one more, which it should be V3. And there it is, V3. Bam, right there. So now let's check our PG admin. Let's hit this one more time, and you're gonna see that I do have 3 of them. You know, title, description, whatever, and the user ID, our reference key, is all going to be the same. It should be, which is F3E. And if I go to my users, my user ID is F3E. Awesome, right? And again, guys, we could have asked right here that simple question if you did not know where that foreign key should be placed. Which one could live without the other, right? Which one could live by itself and which one can't? Obviously, user could live by itself and tweet cannot. It needs a user associated with it. So in that case, foreign key should be inside of tweet. All right, now let's focus on the many-to-many relationship. This is going to be the most complicated one, all right, guys? So I want you to pay, if you don't pay attention, at least pay attention to this, because this is the most complicated one out of all of them. Because like in the last video, I said that you cannot, like, for instance, these two actually, you could make relationships, associations with only 2 tables, right? With the many-to-many, it doesn't work that way. You need 3 tables. One being the junction table, or the junction model, and then the join table, okay? So again, I will walk through like what is a many-to-many, so that way you have a clear picture of what it is. Even though I explained in the last video, so it's going to be very, very quick, right? So in this case, I'm not going to be doing this model right now. So let's say that we have a table of actors and we have another table of movies, right? So actors could be inside of many movies, right? And also movies could have many actors. This is a many-to-many relationship. But this is the shorthand version of the many relationship, right? The longhand version would be, we have a actors, and then we have a movies actors, and then right in the middle we have our junction model or our join table, which we're going to be calling A_M, so that way we know, right? So in this case, and it would make more sense if we had IDs, right? So let's say we have ID for actor. Wait, what? Hold on. Sorry about that. I was having some technical difficulties, man. My pen wouldn't be working. Yeah, I actually bought a pen now, guys. So yeah, anyways, all right, so it'll be much more easier if I explain like this. So obviously this right here is going to have a an ID, and also movies, it will have its own ID, correct? But since now we're having this middleman right here, our join table, this is going to have reference to, and I'm gonna make 2 columns right here. It's going to have reference to our A ID, our actor's ID, and our movie's ID, right? So actor 1, 2, 3, let's just say 1, 2, 3, could be referencing a movie with the ID of let's say 4, 5, 6, right? So 4, 5, 6, just like so, right? So now this is going to have a one-to-many relationship, because one actor could have a many relationship with the table, this table right here, and also this movies could have a one-to-many relationship with this table right here, our join table, okay? And yes, we could get stuff out again, right? But this right here is going to be our many-to-many relationship, our association, okay? Now, I have to add in the ID. This is very important. This is what it does, right? So the actors table has an ID, movies table is an ID, and once it creates our join table, our junction model is going to automatically create a actors ID inside of here and our movies ID inside of here, or foreign keys, our foreign keys, okay? It's going to create foreign keys for us. I wanted to show you this because this is going to make much more sense once we start coding, because when it comes to actors and movies, or when it comes to having a many relationship between 2 models, it's very easy. So let's just make it in this case right here. Let's do a movie actors and movies relationship. Let's assume that I have an actors models and a movies model. Okay, so right here, let's try to do a let's grab this and let's try to do a many-to-many relationship, which only has it only uses the belongs to. This one does not need a combination, it just uses the belongs to. So in this case, if we did have an actors model and a movies model, we would be saying, hey, we could say actor dot dot belongs to many. Make sure to spell this right, because you're gonna get errors. Belongs to many movies, right? Or movie. Actor belongs to many movie. Also, we have to say, like I said, you still need to do a two-way round trip on this, right? Because I said actor, right now, what we did right here, actor belongs to many, right here. Actor belongs to many movie. Right now we need to do movies could have many actors. So in this case, it's just the opposite. So movie dot belongs to many actor, right? So these two lines basically did this. Now, with belongs to many, with a many association in Sequelize, there's a couple of options that you need to add. This is required, okay? Like I said, we need this junction table right here, this junction model. Obviously, we do not have an actors underscore movies model. This is going to be created for us automatically. And in order for it to do that, we do need to say, hey, we want to make a many relationship between actors and models, or actors and movies, and we want it to go through a junction table named whatever, right? So in that case, we're going to add some options right here, and this is where we're going to say we want that to go through the model. Well, in this case, let's just name it actor underscore or actors underscore movies. All right, so this right here is going to create this junction table for us automatically, and yes, we do need to have both of them. Oops, there we go. Now right here, this actually creates this right here, this model right here, a many relationship with our junction model, our join table, as actors and movies. And inside of actors and movies is going to be creating that reference key of actors ID in here and our movies ID in here. Okay, but now, why did I show you this with models that I did not have? The reason why is because we could actually make a many-to-many relationship using only one model that we have, and that's what we're going to be doing. And you might be scratching your head like, what? How can we? How? What? How? It's exactly the same thing. We're only using one model, and I'm gonna show you right now. So, what's our many relationship that we're going to be creating? So in this case, users, right? I'm gonna have to draw this out, guys, so that way you could see what's going on, right? So I'm gonna leave this here so that way you can still reference it, right? But we're gonna be using users, the table users, all right? So users could actually follow many users, other users, right? And other users could follow you, right? Other users, many other users could follow you. So this right here, within the user table, could be a many-to-many relationship with itself, right? Because I could, since I'm a user, I could follow many users and other users could follow me, right? This is a many-to-many relationship. Now, this is exactly the same thing over here, but only using one model. So I'm gonna just say equals right here, this and this, right? So now we need to convert this into this little model right here. So how will we do that? Well, same thing, right? User, we're gonna have a user model right here, obviously, and we're gonna have another user model over here, right? And they both have the exact same ID, right? The user ID, and ID, right? But since we're going to be creating a user table or a join table, or a junction model, we're gonna say this. We're gonna call this followed, or yeah, I'm gonna just say follow. This table is going to be named follow. All right. So in this case, once we create a one-to-many relationship right here and a one-to-many relationship right here, this is where it's going to confuse people, because over here, what we did is they gave a reference keys of actor ID and a reference key to the model ID or the movie ID, right? But over here, since we're both using the user, how is that going to fit right here? How does that work, right? How does that work? We can't have two user IDs in here because that's not going to work out. And here comes the options, right? I said this in I think in the one-to-one relationship, we could actually name our foreign keys, okay? So let's take this into account. For this user right here, for this user model, the user ID or the foreign key name is literally going to be user ID. So I'm going to just say UID. That's kind of hard to read. So let me try to make it a little bit bigger so that way you can see what's going on, okay? All right, let's try to make this a little bit bigger so that way you can see what's going on. One-to-many, whatever. All right, so this user model coming in is going to literally have a foreign key over here called user ID. For right now, I'm just going to say UID. And in my head, I want it to be that this user ID is the user that's following. So this user ID is going to follow another user. So in this case, this user model, we're going to name this as a followed ID. I'm literally going to call it, I'm going to say followed ID. And that's going to be right here, right? So in this case, let me say me. So 123 user 123 followed 123 followed 4 5 6, right? Also 123 followed 987. Also, let's say that 987 user ID 987 followed I don't know, 4 5 6. Right? In this kind of sense, in this kind of way, it does make sense, right? So that's why I wanted to have a user ID and also a followed ID right here. So that way we could say that this user followed this user. I know it kind of makes sense. It makes sense. I hope it does make sense. But this is what we're going to be doing, right? And like I said, it's exactly the same thing as this over here. This correlates, or this equals to this. But it's just different, right? Because we're adding specific foreign keys. So let's take this into consideration right here. Right here, okay? Right here. I forgot to do the percent. So anyways, so in this case, instead of actors and movies, it's literally just user. I'm gonna just copy this. Belongs to many user, and user belongs to many user again. Like I said, we still need these right here. That's going to be correlating. So let's focus on this part right here. This one right here. Let me actually circle it or color it into another one. We're going to be focusing right here first of all. This right here. Okay. Let's focus on this little bit piece right here. So this is going to be our top row right here, and we need to give it a foreign key of user ID. This is where, you know, having a diagram or drawing out like schemas and all that helps out so much. So that way you understand it a little bit better. So anyways, we're going to be working on this yellow section first of all. And it's going to be our top row right here. Now, because we are using just one model, it's going to get a little bit of complex on the options that we're going to be adding, okay? It would have been so much easier if we just had two models, but I wanted to show you this way as well, where you could use it as one. So that way, because you're going to be doing this as well. Let's face it, you're going to be using one model as a one-to-many, many-to-many relationship. Somewhere through your life, you're going to be doing this. I know for a fact you're going to be doing this. So anyways, all right. So since these are basically the same thing, and Sequelize doesn't know how to determine like what's what, right? So I want to give them an alias. I want to give them another name. So instead of having this, we're going to say, I want to reference this. I'm going to say as. I want to reference this as user. So this first one is literally going to be the same thing. It's going to be the user. The user, we're going to be referencing this as the user model. And by default, guys, by default, the foreign key is going to be generated using the alias that we gave it, okay? So in this case, since our alias is user, the foreign key that it's automatically going to give us is going to be the user ID, right? If it didn't, and if you really wanted to make sure that the foreign key is going to be user ID, you could literally just say foreign key. And let's just do it right now, right? Let's just do it. Foreign key, we want it to be, let's say, user ID. And that completes this section, right? We have our user model right here, and we also have the user ID inside of the, oh, and by the way, we want this table to be called follow. So we're going to just say, or we could say user underscore follow, but I'm going to say follow, like that, right? We're going to have this user ID, our foreign key user ID inside of the follow table that it's automatically going to create for us. All right, now that we have this section, this part of it done, now let's get my blue one out. Now let's do this piece right here. All right, this other half, okay? All right, so in this one, and I'm trying to, let me actually get rid of this since you already know what's going on over here. So let me get rid of this so that way you can see a little bit more clear. All right. So on this half is going to be the second bottom half, obviously. So we want to rename this as well because it's still being used as user. So we need to give it an alias, right? And our alias, like I said, since we're going to be calling it the followed ID, we're going to just say as followed. Oops, let me put it in quotes, as followed. And we're going to give it the foreign key. Let me copy this. There we go. We're going to give it the foreign key of, like we said right here, followed ID. So followed ID or ID, and it's going to go through our join table, which is the follow table. Let's control save this. We shouldn't get any errors. Where's my what? Yeah, okay. See that we didn't get any errors, so this works. So let's see what this created in our pgadmin. All right, let's check that out. Let me actually get rid of all this. So I just wanted to, I hope you understood all this coming to this, okay? I hope you understood that 100%. I tried to make this as simple as I could. But now let's go to pgadmin and see what we just created. What monstrosity did we create? If I refresh the table section, you're going to see that we have a follow table. Here's our join table, okay? If I, over here, select everything from follow, you're going to see that, hey, look, this is exactly what we wanted. We have the created ad and the updated ad, which is fine because that came from this timestamps. But look at this. Check this out. We have two primary keys, user ID and followed ID. Now, let's put this into use. Let's try to figure this out. Let's try to actually make myself follow some other people, okay? So in this case, since my users, I still only have one user. I could technically follow myself, but let's not. Let's create some other users. We're going to say Danny, Blake. Is that how you do it? Danny, I'm going to just get their emails as well. Danny Blake, DannyBlake.com. All right, there we go. We got their, we created a user and a contact info. Let's create one more. Let's create a Tom Dane. Dude, I'm not even sure these are real names. Dane, is that even the last? I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. I don't have friends. So we have two more users. Okay, so let's hit this. All right, you can see that we have two more users. So myself, WJ, wants to follow both Danny and Tom. So let's try to see the code. First of all, let's see the code what I wrote, so that way what we could do, right? So let's go in our code. So now that we have this many-to-many relationship, let's see how we could actually, start following people. So inside of users, the services, user service, all the way down, I created a method called follow user. right? So we're going to get a current user, which is going to be me because I'm using the find one user, which is going to return WDJ, the user WDJ. So this is the current user, right? And then we want to follow, this is to follow user, right? We want to follow this user, which I'm trying to find someone called Danny. So now we have the current user and the person we want to follow. So how do we do this, right? And you might be seeing this next bit of code and you're like, okay, where did this add user come from? And that's a great question. I did not talk about this at all. I forgot about this. So when you create associations, right? When you create associations, they give you special methods that you could use with them. The magic, they're magic, man. They make your life so much more easier, okay? But they do give you special methods that you can create. Matter of fact, hold on. Let me actually pause it and pull up the Sequelize doc so that way you can see it. All right. So I have the Sequelize docs and I found it right here. Okay. So as you see, they create special methods, right? So in this case, this is a foo.hasOneBar. This is a one-to-one relationship or association, right? And belongs to whatever. But check this out. This is the special method that it created. So the foo instance dot get bar, set bar, create bar. It's whatever you name the model as. So in this case, it's bar. So it's going to be get bar, set bar, create bar. If it was cat, it would be get cat, set cat, create cat. Okay. Over here we have a foo.hasMany bar. In our case, it's user.hasManyUser. But like I said, we did create aliases for those users. So in this case, it would be, let's take one for example. Oh wait, this is the, this is the hasMany. Sorry about that. This is the hasMany, which is a one-to-many. So it's still the same thing, right? But it gives you a little bit more methods that you could use, right? So you have the hasBar, addBar, removeBar, and all that stuff. And here's the special methods that the belongs to many goes through, right? In this case, the foo instance dot get bar, count bars, hasBar, whatever. It doesn't really matter. All right, but this right here has, like I said, once you create associations, they give you special methods, and I'm just using one of those special methods. As you can see right here, I'm adding the dot add user, and that is a right here add bar. That is a special method you can use. But like I said, the bar comes from the name of the name of the model. In this case, you could probably guess what model we're using here, right? The add user. We are using this top model because we created the alias as user. Okay. If I wanted to do something with the bottom right here, this bottom association, I would say, add followed or get followed or, set followed. But in this case, since I want my current user to add another user or to add the person they're going to follow, I want to be doing this, right? So it's going to be user.add_user and then the followed ID or the person that I'm trying to follow's ID. Hope that made sense, right? So I'm using, where is it at? Right here. So I'm using that special method add user so that way we could do that without, doing all those things. And this is literally going to pull out the ID from the to user, whatever we got back. It's going to pull out the ID from it and just store it in the, proper place. And then all we're going to say is current user and get user. Get user, like I said, is another thing. So I just want to grab all the users that I'm following so far. So this is why I say get user. And that's pretty much it, right? It's pretty simple right there. And that's because of the magic of those special methods, okay? But anyways, now that we have this method right here, follow user, I did use it in my user index right here. And I think it was in the very last, yeah, right here. So it's going to be /user/follow route. And all I'm doing is calling that follow user. And we're going to be sent back a followed list. Dude, I hate when my printer just like starts to, update on its own. It gives me the jumps. All right, so anyways, let's try this out. Okay, we don't have to enter anything. All we have to hit this route because we're doing everything right here. We're grabbing our user, or I'm grabbing myself, and then I'm trying to follow Danny. I'm doing everything hard coded. Okay, so anyway, let's just hit that route. So I think I already have that somewhere around here, right here. Follow. There we go. Follow. You don't have to send anything. Let's just hit it. Hopefully, yeah. Okay, so why did we get an empty array? All right, so initially, I'm not following anybody, so it's going to return an empty array. And don't worry, you'll see what I'm talking about in a bit. All right, so anyways, let's check out our pgadmin and see what's going on there. So if I go to over here and then hit this again, what do you think is going to happen? Wait, what? Man, dude, did I make a mistake? I swear. Oh, no. Follow. There we go. Check this out. Check this out. So this is going to make more sense, right? So user ID, let me see. F3E, is that me? Yeah, F3E is me. I tried to follow 06B, right? So user ID F3E followed 06B, which is correct. This is Danny right here. Danny. Now this model right here, this model is starting to make, this table right here is starting to make much more sense, right? The way we did this. Let's try to, since I'm already following Danny, let's try to follow Tom. Let's try to follow Tom. All right, so let's go Tom, control save. Let's hit this route again. Now we're going to try to follow Tom. Let's hit this, but check this out. Now we have an array. That's because now we started to follow Danny, and it's going to give me that one back. It's going to give me that one back, right? This is something different. This is another method, but don't worry about it. We're gonna, like I said, man, we're gonna be talking about this much more once we start doing a lot of things with Postgres Sequelize. But anyways, so let's go back into our pgadmin and check that out. If I hit play again, you're gonna see that user ID F3E, which is me, is now following 9B9, which is Tom. 9B9 is Tom, right? Cool. Now, this is a many-to-many relationship association. Now, we could figure out who I'm following, all the people that I'm following, and we could also figure out who's all following Danny or who's all following Tom, right? That's going to be great. Now, that's pretty much it for this video, guys, because we did a lot and we talked about a lot of the things. Like I said, this video was going to be long, and this is just associations. We still need to do a lot more, right? We still need to do a lot more with associations, but that's going to come in the next videos that are coming up, guys. Don't worry about it. Like, we still got a long way to go until Sequelize is over, or Sequelize in Postgres, right? But I will leave a link to this right here, so that way you could see the associations, and all the way in the below, all the way in the bottom, it has all those methods or special methods that you could use, and you can see how to use them, all those things. We are going to be talking about some of them throughout the course. I mean, not the course, sorry, I keep on saying course, but throughout the series, but not all of them. So I would highly encourage you guys to look at this and see what's going on. But anyways, this was a long video, guys, so I hope you learned something. I hope you read the docs for yourself, so that way you won't be confused, because I tried to explain this as best as I could, okay? But yeah, I mean, I really just hope that you actually got something from this video, and if you did, please hit that like, subscribe to my channel, and also comment down below. Also, if you want to support me in any other way, there are going to be links down below, so that for my Patreon, and also ways that you could buy me coffee, a cup of coffee. And speaking of coffee, I need some coffee right now, so I'm gonna be heading downstairs and making myself a coffee. So without further ado, guys, I will see you in why did I say without further ado? I'm sorry. I really appreciate you guys watching my videos and supporting me, so thank you guys, and I will see you in the next video.